Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. All right, welcome everybody. We are hydrated, we are caffeinated. Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. Jessica Cunningham, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you, Corbett. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much. I know we had a couple of life things, some scheduling conflicts, but we stuck with it. Here we are.
Yep.
I want to shout out Amanda Jordan and the RAP Networking Group for bringing us together. I've lost track of who I've met at which event, but all of them have been honestly equally as fun, and equally different foods have been enjoyable. So I'm going to go back every time I can. So I want to give them a shout out for sure.
And you're officially part of the rap group?
I mean, I don't know, officially versus unofficially. I mean, honestly, what's the...
Well, I don't know if you were a member of the group. I think it's a BNI, as I recall. I think specific.
I think they're just, all three of them are in a BNI together, but they're not connected.
Okay.
Let's be clear. I could be incorrect about that, but I went to a BNI that all three of them were at, and it had nothing to do with their RAP networking event. And the RAP networking events have nothing to do with their BNI. So I think they just all know each other, like each other, are friends, work really well together, started a networking group, and are also in a BNI together. But I don't think they're actually related. If I'm misspeaking, I apologize, but I think.
No,
I think.
I'm not.
But I'm officially on their mailing list or their email. I get their Facebook notifications, if that's what you mean. Yeah. Are you in their BNI?
No,
okay.
I'm not. No, I'm not part. Currently, I'm not part of any BNI. I enjoy being a sub and visiting area BNIs, but no, I'm not part. I'm too much for one.
Yeah, I've visited now 2, and I don't know. It just seems a little too. It seems strange because it's obviously what they're going for, but it seems a little too businessy.
Right.
And I know it's like for a business networking, whatever it stands for, that's obviously the game, but it's just not right for me. And that's not a slight against them in any way. I don't enjoy myself as much, and I don't seem to be even benefiting from even the visiting ones, let alone like, I go to 2 RAP things, or I have other ones in Raleigh, networking events that I go to, and they've all already like turned into at least a great connection, an incredible coffee that I've had with somebody where the doors have been opened for future stuff or a podcast or whatever. So I'm going to keep doing those until they cease to exist.
Yeah. No, I think that was very well put, and that resonates a lot with where I'm at as well, just being in different groups, and I find just a lot of organic connections through those methods rather than having to be pigeonholed into one.
I think that word is
group.
is perfect. Organic. I like that. Yeah, because you get to just, you don't have to be so forced, and it can develop a little bit more naturally. You could bond over something that's not even what you're going to work with each other on. And, like us, it was New York sports.
Yep.
We were both crying about the Rangers, crying about the Yankees, Yankees worse crying the last couple of weeks, but we don't have to talk about that because we're going to stay positive.
Yeah, we want to start on a high note.
Yeah. So I think when you sent me your contact and I just hit save, it was like, it made me chuckle, but I loved it. It was like networking guru, real estate something, and something else. So tell me about the hats that you wear.
So I'll start with the main hat that I wear, which is I am a financial services professional with Mass Mutual. Do holistic financial planning for individuals, families, small business owners, but everything from insurance to investments, retirement planning, long-term care. But the key word is planning. And what that looks like is different for everybody. Everyone's situation is different. And we take that holistic approach versus a transactional one-off, here's a life insurance policy, which we can do. We can work that way. But we prefer to work holistically because that ensures that what we're recommending makes sense in the larger financial picture.
What does the holistically word mean in regards to finance? Because I only know
at all pieces of that person's financial picture. So rather than somebody coming to you and saying, "Oh, I need a life insurance policy for $100,000," which how did they arrive at that number? And when you start digging into things, you find that there are a lot of other pieces to a person's financial picture: debt, retirement. What else do they have going on, so that we can ensure that the recommendation that we're making is appropriate and that it fits into their picture. And it's looking at tax advantages and looking for efficiencies. And so that's why we prefer to look at everything versus just a one-off kind of.
Okay. So I clearly don't know enough about that industry, because what you're describing, I feel like you're implying that makes you unique. And in my head, that should be the standard for all financial planning. How could you recommend something very costly in any realm without looking at the overall picture? But I guess some people just get paid on the transaction and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, or some people just go off of certain things like, 10 times your salary or whatever. And it's like, that's, again, just sort of a random number that you came up with. How are you ensuring that that's really what's the best fit, or that's the right type of policy for that person if you don't know what else they have going on? So yeah, that's the most responsible approach to take. And I am in the process of pursuing a certification to specialize, that's to focus on working with special needs individuals and families. I'm not sure if that was something else that we had talked about, but
I honestly can't remember if we had talked about it at the wrap event. I think maybe you had texted me that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know much about financial planning, so definitely less about that. But I was like, well, we could talk about all of it.
Everybody knows. Yeah. Well, I think increasingly people know somebody either in their family or friends, work associates who is connected to somebody with a special needs or a disability. And it's a different set of challenges and considerations for families and caregivers, and your special needs individual to when they're considering what long-term care planning looks like for them, and if they are receiving certain types of benefits or anticipate needing those in the future. It's important when you're talking to their family to ensure that they have a plan, but that plan does not interfere with that individual's eligibility for those very important benefits. Like SSI and Medicaid are the two.
I'm familiar with Medicaid. What's
examples.
SSI?
Supplemental security income.
Okay.
And these are both means-tested programs. So meaning that there are strict income and resource limits that a beneficiary needs to have in order to keep their eligibility for those benefits. And
limits as like how much they can make.
How much they can have, yes. How much they can, yes, both. So should they exceed that, then they will lose their eligibility for those benefits until they get back to a point where they are underneath that threshold. So the way that comes into play when you're talking about planning is that you might have a well-intentioned relative or friend who wants to leave something for that individual.
Okay, I see where this
but
example
rather
is
than
going.
leaving it to them directly, which would unintentionally screw them over, you're setting them up using certain vehicles that will preserve that eligibility, but also enhance, supplement, not replace is the idea, their quality of life.
Right, because you don't want to lose the great care
and the great benefits that
might be free or at least mostly taken care of by a government subsidy.
Correct.
Especially if for like a heavy medical disability where you need like, a hospital bed or a full-time care or something like that,
Yeah.
Those people are just as much people that you have to be cared for. But then if somebody's like, oh, I'm going to leave you a couple $100,000,
it's like, yes,
and you just lost all of that and now you got to pay it out of pocket, that stuff's really, really expensive.
It's like, yeah, so now you're going to deplete that money.
Whereas if
like
you like do
a
tricks
special
that
needs
you know,
trust or an
trust,
ABLE account,
right.
they're different. There are several vehicles that are available, and it's just getting that awareness out there, and that's one piece of it. But really, it's just creating a team and smooth transition for that individual, because it at the end of the day, it really does take a team for someone with special needs. From a caregiver standpoint, there will be a time when they're no longer physically or otherwise able to be the primary caregiver, and so talking them through what it would look like when that situation arises, and what the plan is, what kind of team you have in place, and being sure to communicate, having open lines of communication with all the parties involved, whether it's medical, care, financial, legal, and having a team in place to ensure that they will be properly cared for the rest of their lives too.
So how did you, well, first of all, how did you find your way and get interested in financial planning? But then also very curious how you wanted to find your way into that niche.
Sure. Yeah. So after I graduated from college, I worked in financial services. So I started my career in financial services at Vanguard, and worked there during a very memorable period of time in 2008 when the market crashed, and learned a lot of very important, very, very valuable financial lessons, mostly from the mistakes of others and talking to people on the phone. And because I started out as a licensed rep, and it was honestly, it was heartbreaking in many instances to hear people who had no clue what their finances what their financial situation was until, things fell out. And then they had to learn a lot of painful lessons the hard way. I left to go to law school, where my focus was in estate planning and elder law, and I had no desire to actually practice in that area, but I was one of the few people who went to law school without any burning desire to practice, although I did pass the bar in Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
Isn't that like borderline crazy? Isn't it like very hard and very expensive to go to law school?
It is, although I did get a partial scholarship, and it's not a good reason, but I did, and I did a lot of things that I thought I was supposed to do, even if I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do with it. I thought I would figure it out, or would give me options.
You thought that was the path that you were supposed to take?
Yeah, and I had different interests. So I'm like, let me see what else I can do. And I knew several people who went to law school and, ended up having very satisfying careers, not practicing law, but they found that that law degree very useful. And I can attest to that.
So you don't have regrets sitting here now? Like,
no,
it was worth it?
No, but I would definitely advise people to have a plan, more of a plan in place. I don't think that going to school is the appropriate way to find yourself or to find what it is that you want to do and take on massive debt. I think
a financial planner who advises planning.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Shocked.
Yeah, but really the experiences that I've had, job experiences, are really what have I think given me the best education that I've gotten, and my legal background and financial services seem to, and with the emphasis on estate planning, I did. When I moved down to North Carolina, I did work at a law firm in doing probate work. So I wasn't practicing. So when somebody passes away, the process of settling that person's estate. So if they had a will, then going through the process of validating that, collecting assets, doing an inventory, paying creditors, making final disbursements to beneficiaries. But
okay, I got a question about a will.
Oh, for sure.
So let's say, when we're just going to completely make this up, let's say that like when I die, I have a will and it says, give 20 grand to John Doe.
Sure.
But John Doe is dead, never had kids, no other family. Does that just go back and be redispersed among the other people named in the will?
So that would depend on the language in the will. So if you had it written such that, but, if he's not, if any of these people are no longer alive or are not then living at the time of your death, you can redirect it to be divided among the other named beneficiaries, or
what if you
otherwise, but if barring that, that goes to, like his estate. So he predeceased you, then if he passed away with will, without a will, that would dictate who was, the beneficiary of his estate.
Yeah, I'm trying to make like I'm trying to stump you. Like, obviously if he died and he has a will that says his daughter gets his stuff, then the 20 grand that goes to John Doe goes to John Doe daughter. But I'm trying to yeah, okay. So assuming that the estate was left to somebody higher than that John Doe, it would just go to that person. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. But you could have language also again there that you're like, well, I don't want it to go to anyone other than him. So if he's not alive, then I want his share to go to X or to be divided among the other.
Right. Okay. So you could get I guess you're allowed with your will to be as specific or not specific in this case as you want.
Yeah. Being specific is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I have a will just because, like, my brother was like, they're so easy to amend.
They are.
That just get one.
Have something. Something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I always say, and I had the privilege of working at State Employees Credit Union and helping to oversee their estate planning essentials program. And so which I'm forever recommending to anyone who is a member or eligible to become a member to at least.
Will they do you a will for free?
They will not do it for free, but they will do it for an exceptionally low cost.
Ballpark me.
$325 for an individual and $425 for a married couple with similar plans. Now, okay. I'll qualify that because it does have to be fairly basic in nature. So, like everything to spouse and then kids, you can you can set up trust provisions, which, like for minors, for example, most people typically are not too keen on leaving a lump sum to their kids once they're 18, which is what happens if you don't have a plan. And so...
Yeah, mine could not have been simpler. And my brother was like, I have a lawyer who did mine, and
you
can
pay an arm and a leg for it, but
I didn't. I paid like $400.
Yeah, so you can get for $325, and that at the credit union, this comes with these are prepared by licensed attorneys. A will, both powers of attorney, so your medical and financial, and HIPAA authorization. So you get all those 4 essential documents for that low price.
Well, I paid $400 for that, so I
that's still a phenomenal deal.
But I'm not a State Employees Credit Union member, so I didn't even know.
Or maybe you're eligible. So I always encourage people to check out if they're eligible. There are many ways that one can be eligible. That's on their website, but
I really did it for the medical. You mentioned the
medical
HIPAA.
and financial. Yeah. So medical. Who's going to make decisions, your healthcare decisions, if you're incapacitated, financial, same thing. And then HIPAA authorization is, who's privy to your personal health information, but they're not, but that's not a decision making, like whoever's on that list of people who can receive information about your condition, they're not in a position to make decisions about your
I'm super fortunate that my sister-in-law is a former ICU nurse at Duke. So she got to see it every day. These people hooked up to machines, and she was also like extremely top of her class and all. So I even asked her, I was like, hey, I'm actually at our mutual favorite person, my brother, your husband's direction, I'm going to get a will. And I was like, do you mind if I make you the person? Because I was like, we're close enough, but just far enough apart that you can be like sad, but also make the rational decision. Like it'd be really hard for me to put that on Keaton, my brother, who's just like, would be more emotional. We're brothers. Just like, I don't want to be in charge of his situation, you know? So I asked her, and she was like, not only is it an honor, but of course. And I was like, that's amazing. And then she immediately asked me, which I kind of laughed, but also appreciated. She was like, do you want to be a vegetable or do I pull the plug?
No, but
I was like, pull that plug immediately. I do not want to be. No. Like that's terrible. Pull it. I don't. If I'm just a brain and a head and the body doesn't work, pull that. I'm no interested in living that life. Like we're real clear. And she was like, good. Needed to know.
Exactly. And how much better that is than putting the burden on a loved one or loved ones and having them even, fight over it. I mean,
and not know because you didn't specify.
Yeah. Exactly. Same thing. And so planning and communicating that plan to the people that you've named to serve in those important roles.
And for those who don't know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but when you get an official will by a lawyer, blah, 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 with the stamp and all that, it does not expire.
Correct.
Throw it in your safe. It's good for eternity.
Yes. Although I wouldn't, you want, but you also want to put it in a place where people can find it.
Yes. Put it in your safe.
Yeah. But not like a safety deposit box at a bank, for example. That would not be a good place to do it because.
Oh, interesting. Why do you not recommend that? I feel like they're super secure.
Yes, they are while you're alive. And they're secure afterwards too. But the problem is that the person that you've named in that document can't get to it.
Oh, unless you plan.
Unless you,
Right.
They don't have
on
access
okay.
to that. They need to have access to the document that states that they are the named executor for your will.
So can you set that up with your bank, or I guess maybe the post office has security? But can you do a document with them that's like, hey, I want to put my son or whatever on the security deposit box with me? They also have access.
Yeah. So if that person also has access, then you're good. Okay. You're good to go. But yeah, you're setting up a lot of additional challenges if the person who's named doesn't have access to that document, and there are a lot more hoops they have to go to get the document that says that they are the person who's supposed to be.
I think a lot of people just don't like talking about this because
it's not a glamorous topic.
Well, yeah, the overall aura is death and problems.
Right.
But at the same time,
it's actually avoiding the problems. I mean, death is going to happen. That's the thing. I mean, we just have to be realistic. But talking about it isn't manifesting death
for sure.
Actually, but what it is doing is it's creating peace of mind, and you do have to be prepared to have some courageous conversations. But truly, the worst thing you can do is say nothing.
Yeah,
is to do nothing and in order to say nothing, and just and gamble or hope that your family is just gonna sort it all out and that everybody's gonna know, because they won't. They really won't. And I got to see that on the backside, doing the probate work, estate. Administering someone's estate and seeing the good, bad, and ugly of that.
The horror shows that you probably saw of like family members fighting each other over not that much money or a house or something, or a family house having to be sold because nobody wanted to buy the other person out. And it's like, you just lost your family. Your grandparents built that house.
At the end of the day, is that the legacy that you intended? Like, for most people, no. And I think for everybody, no. I don't think it's malicious, but the thing is that it really is a malicious thing to do, to not have a plan and to leave the loved ones that you would be leaving behind with compounding an already traumatic situation with all these question marks. Where is everything? What does this person have? How would they have wanted it?
Yeah.
And you're just leaving a mess is what it is. So
as a kid, I got to witness the exact polar opposites with each set of grandparents.
Yep.
I got to witness one set of grandparents where, well, physically they were closer when the grandfather got sick, like a hospital bed had to go in, hospice, it was bad, but like nothing was really prepared. It all fell to my mother. To be fair, she did a beyond incredible job just handling it and dealing with it and being a great daughter and moving her into a house that was next to our house and all this, that, and the third, all the way till we, to the bench we designed for his gravestone with his Hebrew name and whatever. And it's all great, but it was the burden. I got to see it. I didn't recognize it in real time, how much of a burden it was, but I'm an adult now and I'm like, that sucked. She had to deal with all that.
Yep.
Whereas my dad's grandparents, I mean, he had a death binder.
And I know it sounds weird, but I'm happy you
brought
that
up. No, it doesn't.
It's wonderful, and everyone should have one.
I mean, when he passed away, we had to. I think the only thing we had to do was like go to the mutual banking person and go to the DMV and change the car to my dad.
Right.
Like that was it. Like he had simply take down to what he wanted his headstone to be. He was like, I want to be in the backyard, buy your family pets, buy grandma, like cremate me, have Corbett build the cedar box. Like he had it down to the T. No questions.
So you could, I mean, so you've lived it. You can see, how and
the burden, like
the expense, the emotional and financial expense, frankly.
And what I want to just say quickly is, and then we should talk about something cooler.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
We're going to make it cool.
I still saw my dad awful. And I'm like, imagine if he had to deal with all of that other stuff, like the emotional breakdown I saw for basically the only time, because he's not an emotional dude.
Yeah.
And I was, and I, in real time, didn't process this. But now I'm like, oh my God, imagine if he had to do what my mom did for her parents because they weren't prepared. So all of that, it just would have been compounded. And then obviously that bleeds onto everyone else in the family, you know? So, but, you know, okay, so one last thing on this topic. Sure. I want your opinion. Yes. In my opinion, at 32 with a girlfriend and no kids, arguably too early, not an important part not an important time in life to get a will. I want your opinion on what I just said, whether you think that's true or false, and then when you would recommend people think about getting their will, because there's no way that a 19-year-old college kid has $400 to spare to go talk to a lawyer to do this, whether you recommend it or not. So I'm curious what your time zone for recommendation is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually do think that the earlier the better. And, you know, even though as a younger person, you're not thinking about death, or, you know, death is not as probable, getting those powers of attorney, I think, are incredibly important at a minimum in place.
I guess if you're going to do that,
I think I think
doing the bundle.
I think 18 is a good time to at least have some basic plan in place, because the will isn't, because it isn't just who gets your stuff when you die, but it's naming a guardian for your children. It's also expressing what kind of burial wishes or preferences you have, and, you know, just as life changes, your plan should change, and you can always update.
Yeah, the amendments are very easy. You just basically go to whoever did your first one and say, add this as page 1, see amendment 236.
Yeah, exactly. And
so we could say at a minimum when you have kids.
Yes, at a minimum.
Because now you have to at least have a guardian named.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then, you know, but parents do also need to recognize for their children, once they're 18, most parents don't realize that they no longer are entitled to information about their kid's medical condition, unless they have documentation in place or the ability to make decisions. So, you know, go off to college, and if there's, you know, maybe some accident or then parents are often shocked to find out that they're not in a position necessarily to make decisions if there isn't documentation in place naming them as their child's power of attorney.
Right.
And
I think I signed all of the forms for, at least while I was in college, I know I definitely signed all of the forms that were like, parents can see all these results, parents can see test results, parents can like call and do. I was like, they're sending me to college. They need to be at least, you know. And then I think, I don't know, I stopped clicking that maybe when I bought a house. I was like, I guess my mom doesn't need to know my cholesterol. I could just keep that to myself. But, you know. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and just as life changes, then your plans need to change, update your beneficiaries and things like that. Right. That's important. Again, it's not cool, but it is really important, and so trying to make planning cool. And
then also, you don't want to lose a pile of cash to Uncle Sam because you didn't have the right paperwork.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they love to just dive in and take, you know, 40% or 60%, whatever the hell it is. Like,
sure,
it's an insane amount of money. So, okay, let's jump to a different hat, right? Yeah. This is important. Let's not negate that, but let's liven it up here a little bit. Do some salsa dancing. Okay, so what's another hat that you like to wear that's not estate planning and financial advisorship? Holistic financial advisorship.
Holistic financial planning.
I asked that specifically because when I think of the word holistic, I think of medicine. And it's kind of like when I grew up, that was a weird hippie thing. And now it's become the more mainstream thing.
Yep.
So I was very interested when I heard that word in a financial context. I had never heard the combo. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I do also a lot of networking. That's actually I networked my way out of my career from at State Employees Credit Union into pursuing this independent financial advisory role.
Okay, so when you say, quote, I do a lot of networking,
Yes.
do you put on networking events? Do
Yes.
people hire you to plan them? I know I met you at one that we were neither one of us were involved in. Obviously, you go to a bunch of them.
Yeah, so I've worked as a host through Rockstar Connect. That was actually the very first networking event that I attended, where I met the hosts, Stephen and Sarah Elliott, who founded this company back, I think, in 2012. And I appreciated the concept and approach that Rockstar Connect took to networking, which, unlike a BNI, you have something seat specific and maybe some boring speakers. Rockstar Connect is very much just a more social and less
formal.
Formal, much more comfortable, I think, approach to networking. Always free to anybody to attend.
I go to the monthly Durham one at Nomu because I love the restaurant. Yep. And I'm like, even if this is a bad event, I'm going to get a gourmet coffee and a really nice Asian food meal. I actually don't remember if it's like Korean or Thai, but it's all delicious. And I love it. And I've had 3 podcast guests from one visit there.
That's phenomenal.
Including the person who runs it, Deb Lovick. I think it's Lovick. Yeah. She came on. She's great. She's a realtor. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that event for sure.
I'm thrilled to hear that. Anybody can be a host with Rockstar Connect, and what they offer is really made for you networking events. So they operate. I think we have almost 50 throughout the country. Every month.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's national. So you can go on the website, look at what's going on near you, or if you want to become a host, you engage Rockstar Connect to put on an event in an area of whichever area you're interested in. They do all the work as far as providing you with all the supplies, like banner, name tags. Just, you don't have to be making any trips to Office Depot or anything. Yeah, I mean, you just have to show up. All you have to really do is show up. They coordinate with the venue.
Yeah.
Before and after your event. Marketing, advertising. I mean, so what they do is they take you and they make you the prom king or prom queen, because sometimes, actually, I think Stephen had put it perfectly one time when he said networking events can sometimes feel like going to prom without a date. And what this does is puts you as the host in a position where everybody knows who you are, what you do. Again, it's free for guests to attend, but then, you have just a made for you event where people are interacting. There's no speaker. There's no obligation of any kind that they have.
It forced me to be like a little bit more social than I'm comfortable with. I'm a little bit of like a homebody and hermit-esque, and I'm not super like outgoing socially, especially the bigger the crowd.
Yeah.
So it like forced me to be like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
And that's the thing. And it's encouraging people to connect on a human level. It's not leading with your business card, but like, hey, how are you doing? Just you can have a more organic conversation and connection with someone that may lead to some kind of business or partnership down the road, or not, but or at least you can find out, who it is, that they are looking to meet.
Yeah, and for you and I, there's nobody who doesn't need us.
That's true.
There's no human who shouldn't be. Whether they want to use you as a financial advisor is irrelevant.
Right.
There's nobody who shouldn't be talking to you about a will.
Right.
And there's nobody who will not eventually need me to fix something. So I even though it's not ideal, I can sometimes lead with my card, and
Right.
or at least just be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, that has nothing to do with anything I do. But when your house needs repair, here's my card,
Right.
and happy to meet you. Yeah.
Right.
And what are you drinking? Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. But yeah, you can have a more, a less, you can have a better conversation. I think that there's less pressure.
Yeah.
In that environment, or like, hey, you know what? I think I know someone, that I can connect you to. And also really that it really does foster that. I think the people who get the most out of it are the ones who adopt the how can I help approach.
Yeah.
Because with the various things that I do and experiences that I have, when people ask me, the easiest way for me to sum it up is that I can help, or I know someone who can help. And I genuinely believe that, but also I think everybody really has that in them. Everybody has the ability to help. I don't think people appreciate maybe how it is that they're able to help other people or apply the skills that they have to connect others, or use their services to improve someone else's life. But I think people would do well to tap more into that, because that is something I genuinely believe everybody has, and it's transformational on a lot of levels when you tap into that and really believe that people need you.
Yeah.
And then making connections. It's like making magic. Like you're creating something that wasn't there before, and like that's exciting to me. And
Yeah, I mean, every time I go to one, I have a nice time, and I always get somebody's card, and usually it ends with me sending the same text 4 days later to all these numbers as I input them.
Yep.
That is like,
hey,
basically translates to, we don't really have anything to work on together, but want to get a coffee. And
but
usually
you
everybody
never know.
does.
You never know, because and to that point, maybe you can't work with that person, but you don't know who that person knows that might be able to. So it's you never know.
Exactly. And then you have that coffee, and you at least just like have good interactions and vibe well, and then all of a sudden that person leaves going, oh, my buddy Jimmy was saying he had trouble with his contractor. Maybe I'll give Corbett's number to him, because he seems to be vibing well. And so it just, it can
or they'll
snowball
have a need down the
real
road
fast.
and be like, hey, actually, so, and it doesn't have to be somebody that needs your services right then at that exact moment.
Yeah. But for me, the Rockstar Connect has been specifically good because at least
I'm thrilled to hear that
2 realtors, at least 2 to 3 realtors an event go there, and they all seem to say there's a shortage on contractors, and I'm like, well, what do you need? Let's talk. So I'm getting coffee with one after this, and coffee with one tomorrow, and just trying to capitalize.
I'm plugged into the real estate community because I am also a realtor.
Oh, the third hat. What a perfect segue.
Yes. Although I'm moving more in, and this could be another segment or conversation that we'll have, because I'm starting to move into the wholesaling side of it. Real estate has always fascinated me.
Why?
Because I've always loved houses and how different and unique they are. I wasn't a big fan of the one that I grew up in and wasn't particularly proud of it. So maybe that gave me a little bit of a complex about having a place that I feel that I love and can feel proud of to be in.
But that's very different of wanting your own house to be super proud of it to getting into the real estate world of showing 40 houses to the same annoying couple. Like that's obviously I'm stereotyping a really bad situation
Oh, for sure.
But I'm sure you've had to do something along those lines.
So yeah, but the thing is that real estate is it's transformational. It from a wealth and a lot of it isn't not just from a wealth standpoint, but psychologically, I think there is, and I don't think that gets talked about enough as one of the benefits of owning versus renting. You know, and I do think that's an important comparison when you're really evaluating the difference between owning versus renting something. And I have seen, I've personally experienced, but also seen, you know, the impact that it has had on many people's lives. You know, and where I start out with that, same thing with financial planning, just anything that I'm involved with, I just encourage people to get information before counting themselves out of anything, or, you know, not being able to, I think a lot of people just maybe give up too easily, or don't take the time to get good information, to make the best decision for them, and they just, you know, latch onto headlines or things and sort of assume that they're priced out of something, or that there's no way for them to afford a home, when there's really quite a lot out there, and, you know, depending on what their situation is and what their needs are, ways to make things work.
Real estate seems to be, at least from the few people I've had on the podcast, I'm stealing their quotes, but it seems to be the direct and really only / easiest way to build generational wealth.
Yes.
For your family and the continuation of being able to pass down
yes
owned land and buildings, and so I guess as I asked why, I kind of immediately see the connection for a financial planner who's interested in real estate. Like, those are that Venn diagram overlaps a lot. Those are almost just two circles on top of each other, you know, because there's
so many different tax advantages, and that's there's a lot of different advantages and things to consider about, and I think where we're at in this state in particular, there's the demographics of people moving down here, companies moving down. It's hard for me to see how there are a lot of good options. You can never guarantee anything, but I like the way the trends are for real estate in North Carolina.
I mean, it definitely, they have plenty of land to go out. There's, downtown is going up as well, but there's a lot of outward.
Oh, for sure. Yes. And a lot of rural areas.
No shortage of the rural areas. And it really, 10 years ago, you would ask somebody, like, do you think that, I'm just going to, for example, do you think that, Mebane or Hillsborough or Rougemont will start to explode? And they'd be like, no, I don't think so. And now if you ask somebody that, they'll be like, yeah, it's a great spot to invest. It's give it 5 years. I mean, Hillsborough's already there.
Yep.
They're running out of room.
Yep.
And it won't be long before all of a sudden there's stuff to do in Mebane.
Yep. Yep. And so you think about the people who think, like, oh, I couldn't get in, now. It's like, well,
you can always
you're not taking into account the massive level of appreciation that your property is, that you're missing out on potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Long. It's harder to see long-term stuff as the benefit because, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a generational thing or whatever, but I mean, the short-term gratification is a lot more prominent in our society now, with like TikToks being a thing. Everybody wants like an instant gratification for a 4-second video.
Yep.
And, that has to obviously translate into life and how people think. So, I mean, I'm not like blaming TikTok and saying our generation is screwed, but it's got to be some sort of factor that makes it a little bit harder for people my age and more people a little bit younger than me to think about long-term stuff.
Well, and it's just like the estate planning stuff. It's not taught. It should be.
Right. It's not taught. And it's not sexy. Well,
it can be if done right.
That's your job. We're trying to make it sexy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to make insurance sexy. There's so much.
That's hard.
Not when you know what it can do. It's not. It's pretty amazing.
Okay,
I'll make a believer out of you.
I have insurance. What are you talking about? Make a believer. I got insurance. I got all the insurances. House, car, company.
Important.
Yeah. What do you think I could be a contractor without insurance? I don't even know if that's legal.
Probably not.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but for the record, I have insurance. Happy to prove it. Happy to have Farmers Bureau send you the proof. Okay, so you said you're trying to transition into wholesaling. So what even is that?
Well, that's something I'm learning quite a bit more about. But essentially, it's taking over the terms of somebody's property. So somebody...
like a foreclosure or right before foreclosure.
It could be.
Yeah.
And we take over monthly payments, taxes, insurance, everything like that. And until we sell the home, we dispose of the home, and then they get paid in full. They get a balloon payment
paid in full
for their asking price. So the idea is that you take somebody who's selling a home and maybe hasn't gotten a lot of interested buyers. We're not going to come in and make a lowball offer. It's like, no, that's a good price, good property. We'll take over the terms of their mortgage, and then offer them that full price down the road. What we are just seeking is time to make that payment to them.
Okay. I clearly don't understand this because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand if you could sell it, why aren't they just selling it? And if you're going to sell it for more,
there might be some repairs needed. There might be it might be a timing thing that they just don't want to deal with it. They just want to get rid of the property, and not put in certain things that might need to be put in for it to be sold at maybe at a higher price.
And then you're just going to guarantee that you'll get this higher price and then pay them an amount that is guaranteed.
So we say that we'll continue making the payments, continue making paying the taxes and everything like that, and then however many years or when the property is sold, we give them the price that they wanted for that property.
So I'm assuming this is really just a niche for people who are struggling financially, because this doesn't seem like a good move for homeowners.
It could be somebody that doesn't have the resources to keep up the property.
And what's the interest for you on it? Why are you morphing into that niche?
Well, I'm learning more about it, and I don't really have as much time to devote to being a realtor. So this is something that is not a licensed position. So I think there's just more flexibility on it on my end to not have to maintain a license in order to do it.
Okay. So you would act as the realtor for this short sale, but you don't need a realtor.
I would not be working in the capacity of an agent
But you would still need an agent to.
No, there's no agent involved. There's no commissions involved. There's no realtor commissions involved. So it's working with specific, like, for sale by owner properties and people like that.
So you're basically an investor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not really the real estate
it's
hat.
Really more. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's a better way to.
Makes a whole lot more sense, because from thinking of this from a realtor brain, it just absolutely didn't make sense. But as an investor, okay, gotcha. You're looking for somebody struggling to swoop in and make a profit.
But also maybe not someone who's struggling. So a good example, because I had a referral for my friend recently in Chapel Hill. So this lawyer wanted to join his partner in Portugal. He's like, I want to move. I want to be done. And so he knew that he could probably do some upgrades and repairs to his townhouse. But he simply did not have the interest in doing any of that. And the timing, he just wanted to be done with it. Just get rid of it. So we come and can offer what he's asking for. Less, then there's no commissions, there's no closing costs. There's a lot of costs that are associated with typical real estate investment, your traditional realtor deal that are not involved here. Because there's no agent. And we're just negotiating these terms, and it worked for him. So he was able to, take off, do his thing, and we got the house. Able to do the certain cosmetic things, repairs, and then sell it.
Did it work out for everybody?
Yeah, so everybody's happy. Like, he's getting the price he wants for his house. Is like, this is what I want it for, and it's like, okay.
He just had to wait. So he clearly had enough money to move to Portugal and buy a place in Portugal without getting that cash back from the home that you had to sell a year later or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's a unique niche, and it's not everybody falls into that category or situation, and it doesn't make sense for everybody, but for some people it definitely it does. And so for the ones where it can be a win-win for everybody, then
that would make sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so if somebody needed some financial advice or a short sale or a will drawn up, or
I'm not. So I don't prepare legal documents. I work and partner with estate planning attorneys. So,
well, they should still contact you for that, as well as starting a networking group.
Yes, definitely. If they're interested in starting a networking group or want more information about different networking groups that are available, depending on what they're looking for, I've got something for them.
So if you need any of those 5 things, what's the best way for listeners to find you?
They can feel free to contact me at what should I give my
whatever you want to use. Some people use their website, some people use their email, some people just throw their phone numbers out. What's the best way for
I'll throw my number out there. 610, that's Pennsylvania area code. I moved from Pennsylvania back in 2019. So 610-506-9875.
Okay. And do you have I guess it's not really an Instagram type of job. Do you have a website?
Yep, Mass Mutual NC.
Okay, just Mass Mutual. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yep, I'm happy to just share good information and resources, chat with people, see what they got going on, what their concerns are, and who I can help connect them to. And
hopefully run into you at a RAP networking event or a Rockstar Connect networking event. Have you been to the Meet and Mingle in Cary?
Not yet, no.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Last time I was there, shout out to Kaylee Bain. Last time I was there were probably 60, 70 people crammed in this tiny room. And it was almost overwhelming to try to talk to everybody. I ran out of business cards.
That's a good problem.
Yeah. I also, the last person I met, as I said goodbye to Kayla, she was talking to some guy, and I was like, oh, I've got to leave. Who are you? And he was like, oh, here's my card. And I was like, I didn't really look at it. I just saw his name, and I was like, oh, what do you do? As I pulled like a emergency card out of my wallet to give to him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm the mayor of Morrisville. And I was like, what? You're the mayor? I don't think I've ever met a mayor. I was like so awkward. I was like, I don't know. Do I call you like your highness? Like, do I curtsy? Like, I don't know. He had a business card that said the mayor. It was very strange to me, but he seemed like a really cool, down to earth dude. And I'm sure he's like that awkward dude in the tank top. Yeah. Don't let him in the city hall of Morrisville. Yeah. But I really want to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. We could, I think, talk about a lot of things for a while, but the big takeaway for people is just that happy to connect, happy to chat, and happy to help.
Yeah. And, thinking about your long-term life, if you think about it, make it more sexy. It's more fun and it's important. That's really the big takeaway. And yeah. Oh, and as always, the Orange Hammer podcast is on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. You can email me, corb@wsdg.com, or call my cell, 845-489-6057. 845's upstate New York, but I am in North Carolina.
I'm from New York.
There you go. And if you want to come on the show or have me talk about something specific, or just want to reach out and say you're a listener, I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Thanks everybody for listening.